Brad, the prodigal son. What is it?
The prodigal?
The prodigal son.
Honestly, I gotta be honest. I have no idea how that word's pronounced.
Brad, Damian Lillard is back.
Which is
Look, and I'm gonna say this. I'm not saying that I never thought I'd see the day, because I honestly did think I'd see the day. I didn't think it would go down in this way. So I guess defiantly, it feels like a statement that he came back and came.
It's
back
one of the
on
most
this
beautiful
team.
things I've ever seen as a Blazers fan.
He turned down, being reported, multiple offers. It said mid-level offers, which is, we gave him a mid-level contract from multiple championship level teams and vet minimums from probably even better teams is what that means. He turned all of those down to come back to Portland. And we know that basically he said that the biggest thing is that he wants to come back to his family and he wants to be around them. But I really do believe that he thinks that this team with him on it can do damage.
100,000%. Because the family thing has to be the main reason. But also it's it is so wonderfully storybook-like that it almost feels cheesy. It's the most hometown hero, absolute legend of the city. Him and the organization kind of screw each other over, which is kind of how I saw his departure. Yeah. It was kind of like a two-way screw over. We kind of forced him out, and then he kind of, I don't know if people remember, his departure was not fun.
It was a very
and he was not
breakup.
Fun during it. Neither the organization nor Dame both I thought came out looking kind of bleh. And it's the most beautiful, it's romantic. You know what I mean? It's I love when something that would only happen in a cheesy baseball movie happens in real life. It's you ever in Moneyball where Brad Pitt tells Jonah Hill, I cannot be romantic about baseball.
Yeah.
It's my favorite line ever. That is the feeling that gives me was the same feeling I got when I saw the Dame. It's so over the top wonderful. And let's say this really quick. If anyone is well, actually, shut up, dude. Shut up. There is truly, in my mind, people are saying, there's some risk to this signing because of the money. There is zero risk. This is the purely high reward on two ways. It's either high reward emotionally, which it already 100% is. If it's a high reward basketball-wise too, it's just a double high reward. Dame could truly never play another game as a Blazer because say the injury process goes terribly. Obviously, knock on wood, I hope not. But it'd still be an absolutely wonderful thing to happen.
I think we say this a lot more than other people. This game this whole thing, watching the basketball, watching the NBA, is about having fun, enjoying it, and rooting on players that no one ever really talks to unless you're deep in the media. Twitter was just blowing up with everyone incredibly in love with what was happening. Love, I'm literally saying love. That we're in love with this signing. And beyond that, the second half, what you said with the basketball part, we're getting whatever version you think Dame is coming back on an Achilles tear, whatever percent of Dame you think that is, we're getting him at $14 million a year, which is basically nothing.
I was at Oaks Park when I got the text, or so when I got the Shams notification.
That's an awesome place to be to get the Dame notification.
Taking the summer daycare kids, we had a field trip to Oaks Park, and I'm in line getting soft serve swirl, chocolate and vanilla, which is at Oaks Park is top notch. I see it. I start literally yelling. I'm in the middle of Oaks Park yelling. Damian Lillard just signed back, yelling to my shout out to Evan, my boss. You know what? My friend. Oh my God. Yeah, Dame just signed back with Portland. He's what? And I'm yelling it to everyone around us. I'm high-fiving strangers. All this group of kids were coming up, 16-year-olds are coming up. And you're did you say Dame signed back with Portland? And I'm yeah, dude. He's what? And I'm in the middle of Oaks Park. It was such a beautiful Portland moment for me. Just yelling Dame is back in Portland, and everyone around me is going nuts. It's awesome. Then 5 minutes later, I go back to get more water for the kids. And these three girls working the snack shop were talking to each other, did you hear Damian Lillard is coming back to Portland? And the other girl was oh my God, yes, we should go to a game.
Wow.
We should go to a game. And I was this is so amazing. Because even though the average non-Blazer fan Portlander kind of thinks the Blazers suck.
Yeah, they've already forgotten what a good Blazer team looks like, and it's
Yeah.
completely out of their minds.
But like immediately, the entire park at Oaks Park was like celebrating it. I heard everyone walking by talking about it. Everyone was so happy, so excited. There is only one player in the entire league, I really mean that, league, who could have the emotional impact that signing had today. And I saw it with my own eyes from kids to adults, all in Oaks Park, just so over the moon happy. If you're at all upset about this signing because of basketball fit, because of money purposes, shut up. It is a beautiful moment that is only high reward, no risk.
I'm very glad that Joe and Dame, and I think Chauncey was probably, I'm guessing, a good mediator of this whole situation. With this whole Drew and Dame thing, another really great reason that Chauncey's around, because if you brought in David Adelman to try and deal with this situation,
Do you want to come to Portland? Do you want to come back to Portland? Do you know like the David David Adelman? The David Adelman like stories from when he coached here.
Yeah.
Like the private detectives that were hired by parents to prove that he was a drunk.
Yeah. If we had that guy trying to facilitate this bringing in of the veterans and juggling the young and the old and bringing back Dame, it would have never worked. So shout out to, I think I'm going to give Ghost credit to Chauncey for being able to deal and handle
100%.
And bring in the situation. And credit to Joe Cronin. Just credit to him for finding a way to bury the hatchet, to get everyone what they wanted in this situation, get Dame the money he needed, get him the timetable, get him back in Portland, and be able to, not make the whole trade thing a huge wart on the franchise and on Dame's career. We've mended over everything. He got 2 years to go try out to win a championship in Milwaukee. It didn't work, and now we're basically back to not even square one, because we now have everything we got from the Dame trade, including Drew Holiday, on this team.
We traded Dame and then kept everything we traded for him and then got Dame back.
I will just say that now that this final piece of what is the Dame trade, I think we talked about it. I mean, we talked about it on this channel. People have talked about it all the time. I saw people talk about on Twitter, within the last month, how the Dame trade was a rare 3-team everybody lose trade, which I thought was blasphemous before the signing. But this Joe Cronin being able to put this final touch on what has been these 2 years, starting with trading Dame away and now bringing Dame back in, is nothing short of a general manager masterclass.
Oh, unbelievable.
This is, you can do nothing. And it was fine to hate on Cronin for a while, and this front office as a whole. I feel like there's probably credit to guys who are behind Cronin in his ear, helping him out. As we outlined in one of our other videos, how many bad mistakes were made by Cronin before the Dame trade, basically, like Norman Powell stuff and all that. So warranted. But now there's no reason but to just feel amazing about what Joe Cronin has been able to do in his time as a 10-year GM and put in this team. We now have so many options available to us. Basically, how I see it, and again, this is going back to why it's good that Dame is out this year. I literally would prefer it, because now the pressure really, really is on Scoot and Shaden, because their clock is ticking. There's a backdoor, or I want to call it a backdoor plan, but it's probably the actual plan is that Dame is going to come in and command this team. And so they basically have to decide.
You think that's the plan?
From everything I've listened to of other people,
Dame can play around Scoot. No. The first ballot Hall of Famer does not play around the young guy unless he starts showing he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Do not get that twisted. That's not a shot fired at Scoot. That's a note to literally any single player in the NBA.
That seems like it is no doubt the plan that Dame will be starting the first game of the 2026-2027 season.
I disagree. Really disagree.
That's interesting. Here's where I stand right now is that he will get that start, and I think this year will be big for whether Scoot and Shaden are here to kind of be insurance plans for this. But he will get that start off of his Achilles. And if it's not up to, if he's, half of what he was, because, 36 years old off an Achilles tear, that's a bad thing. I do think with modern medicine and just like how much longer players are playing these days. I mean, LeBron's gonna be like 43 and still putting up good numbers, right? Like, and he's an enigma, but players just in general, KD came off an Achilles tear, still producing awesomely. I think he's still going to be producing great, but if he loses that step, I think they'll find a way to easily put in a Scoot who's playing well like that. I think at the start, he will get starting minutes. As time goes on, I think they can find ways to eventually pull him back, but I don't think it's fully like Dame starting. This is his team for the next 3 years of this entire contract, no question.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I would love to think that Dame's going to come back and be like a main piece of a championship team. I mean, this is rare for like absolute diehard Blazer fans, which I can't imagine being a bigger Blazer fan. I think I've watched 95% of complete games for the last like 20 years since I was like 7 or 8 years old.
He's not lying.
Yeah. But I'm not like the Dame worshiper that I think a lot of fans are. And I don't mean that as in like a critique, but like for me, I think Dame was a great player who for me is the 3rd greatest Blazer of all time, which would send some people an absolute
a tizzy.
Yeah. I think Dame was great. I think he was a player with faults who more than anything was just like such an incredible symbolic person for this city. Even though I was not always the absolute crazed, he can do no wrong on the basketball court fan of Dame, despite me thinking he's one of the greatest Blazers of all time. And the reason why I bring that up is because, you got to picture, I know what Dame is as a player. I know Dame, what Dame was at his peak. He's one of the greatest shooters of all time. He's an incredibly ball dominant player who in his athletic prime was one of the worst perimeter defenders in the NBA, one of the greatest scorers, one of the greatest shooters of all time. I would be really stunned if the player he is, if he is seen as the guy who's going to recover well from an Achilles injury. A 6'3" guard tearing his Achilles when he already wasn't like, it's tough. It's tough. It really is tough. Because on one end, I want to think like, if there's anyone who can make up for the physical detriments that he's going to have post Achilles tear, it's him. But also when you take a guy who already was just a really good, not great athlete and probably making him a mediocre to hopefully average athlete, because like even without an Achilles tear, it's like he's going to be a 36-year-old guard. Guards don't age that well unless they're elite shooters and scorers like Dame is. But for us to have the timeline to be that when Dame comes back, he starts on this team, I like to think that the Blazers don't actually have an idea of what's going to happen. It's one of those, it's one of those like I said, high reward, no risk signees. Because the way I always pictured it when Dame came back to Portland, because like you said, I didn't think it was going to happen this way. What I predicted was going to happen was that he was going to miss all of next year, sign a 1-year minimum deal somewhere. That's what I actually thought was going to happen. I didn't think he was going to sign somewhere. I didn't really think this soon. I thought he was going to have a really tough year because I can't think of a single guard in NBA history who at 36 came off a missed year and an Achilles tear and played well. And this is not to poo-poo or to knock. I mean play well as in play to a all-star level. But I kind of thought if he was to come back, I wasn't saying I thought for sure, 100% sure this was going to happen no matter what. But I thought if he were to come back, it was going to be because he came back from the Achilles tear after missing a year, was a shell of his former self, and then wanted to retire a Blazer and was going to come in as like a guy who didn't really play that much, but wanted to play that last season with the Blazers. Kind of like a worse version of what Wade was in Miami his last year. But what I'm hoping the timeline is that we have Drew to kind of be the ease Scoot in, hopefully is the starter. This is ideal.
Yeah.
This is my ideal version of what happens. Drew comes in, he's a starter next year. Scoot by the end of the season proves that he's ready to take the reins. I actually think we're playing team next year. And then starting next year, I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if Drew's only here for a year or two. And then I assume by the second half of Drew's first season here or by the beginning of his second season here, Scoot would be the starter. And then Dame would be the 6-man. And Giroux would kind of be this more like plays both the backup and the backup 2, which Drew can do, role, and plays like 20 minutes per game while Dame is the main 6-man and Scoot's the main starter. Now, again, I'm not trying to poo-poo anything. I think it's very unrealistic to think he's going to come back and be like an all-star. Maybe it's possible. But I think it is realistic and would be amazing if he comes back as the 6-man, because I kind of think it'd be disappointing if Scoot's not good enough to be better 2 seasons from now than a 36-year-old coming off an Achilles tear injury. The only way that does happen, I think, is if Dame, the injury rehab goes really well and Scoot ends up not meeting expectations.
Well, let me just say that's what makes this so incredible, because I agree that is my also personal best case scenario, because that seems realistic.
It honestly
does. And that's the other thing, is that's a realistic best case scenario. And I think there's an even better best case scenario. Let me just say this. So what's awesome about this whole situation is that we have 2 incredible wings that we are so certain about being good. We have an amazing defensive center. We have Young Hansen, who's this like unicorn unknown that, can be anything. Like we have ceiling through the roof in our 3 through 5. We have Robert Williams as a third option, Matisse as a utility defensive man. Like everything aside from our 2 starting guard spots, and Jeremy Grant, who, we're kind of stuck with, but like I think you and I are kind of fine with that, because he's
fine.
He's a really good backup wing.
Yeah, he's like ideal.
That is all set, right? And we're gonna lose Rob Matisse after this year, but who knows? That's all set. So now, kind of all the mystery of this team is these 4 guys, but there's so many ways it can go right. Like Scoot can pop. I see so many people talking about how Scoot's going to be MIP, most improved player, or like going to have a breakout year. That's the NBA Central. Their prediction for most improved player was Scoot.
I saw that. I hope so. That'd be amazing.
Regardless of whether or not you believe, there's real NBA watching people who believe Scoot's going to pop. That's one way it can go right. Dame can come back and be near all-star level. It's in the realm of possibilities. I know it's
honestly, who knows?
Right?
Who knows? I'm not going to say no way.
Can attack a rehab, especially with as long of a runway as he has right now to do it. I believe it's Dame who can get through that. Shaedon Sharpe was looking awesome beforehand. He could pop and put it together a little bit defensively, and then you've got a great player there. And everyone's saying Drew Holiday is going to lose a step or fall off or whatever. That's not necessarily true. Drew Holiday's not hurt at all. Drew Holiday is 35.
Drew Holiday just failed a physical.
Okay, maybe not hurt at all is a stretch, but Drew Holiday's not coming off of an Achilles tear.
Very
Drew
true.
Holiday,
he's supposedly fine.
Was a 35-year-old who got banged up at the end of the season playing against the Orlando Magic. There's a very decent chance that Drew Holiday is still a player that can take you very far in the NBA playoffs.
I hope so. I have no idea.
We don't have an idea about any of those 4 things, but it kind of goes back. I mean, we said it was Scoot and Shaedon. They're both kind of a coin flip, right?
Yeah. I think this team is nothing but coin flips.
We have at the guard position 4 incredibly high outcome coin flips that if all of those land heads, that is an incredible 4-man guard rotation that you can either convince to all play together or dish 1 or 2 out and get great value back in one way or another. Except for, Dame's here. He has a no trade clause. But the other 3, because a championship level team will take if Drew Holiday still got it, a championship level team will take him. But that's the beauty of this situation, is that we don't have to know. We have another year of what's going to be really fun basketball, because our expectations are literally just make the play-in, to just watch it all unfold. That's the other thing, is like there's a world, and this is my other favorite part about this whole thing. If there's a world where every coin flip comes up tails and everything bottoms out, Dame's old, Drew's old, Scoot's not good, Shaedon can't defend, we have we have a ton of draft capital to use in 2028, 2029, 30 to either hard reset, to just flush it out after 3, because Drew's contract, Dame's contract, and Jeremy's contract are all up after 2023, and that's when Denny needs to get extended. So if this just worst case scenario just doesn't work at all and everyone somehow sucks, then we have an escape hatch at the
Absolutely.
end. And on the flip side of that, if stuff does start to work, we have all this draft capital to push all our chips in if we really are actually contending for a title and trade for someone incredible. Giannis is what everyone's talking about, but you get the deal. So we have so many options. It's beautiful.
That's such an amazing point that if everything goes wrong, we still have right after things for sure go wrong. Like, it's like we're going to have to wait a year. It seemed like, oh, things sucked. Dame was old. Drew's old. Scoot's bad. Shaden's bad. All forwards, it's possible.
Yeah.
I hope not. I assume not, but it's possible. But then we have the Bucks picks, the Magic pick, our own picks.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be either way, we're in a position where we're going to be fine and we're going to be because the worst thing you can be as an NBA team, I think, is boring.
Yeah.
We've sat through a couple boring seasons recently. Not this most recent one, but the two before that. It's not that we sucked. It's that,
no, we did suck, but
we did suck. It's not just that we sucked, though. It's just that, there was 30 games where you turned on the TV and the glimmer of hope was, oh, I hope maybe Brandon Williams will put up a good game. There's nothing fun about that. We're in a position where no matter what, even if we suck, it's going to be really interesting, really exciting, a lot to talk about, and a lot of fun. It's why it's almost like right now is not the time to really predict what's going to happen with Dame. Good, but I just love that you brought that up because it's proof that no matter what happens, it's a win. Every year, Achilles tears are going to look a little bit better and better just because of the advancement in treatments and medicine. I mean, the only guy recently who's come back from it and still look good is Durant.
Klay Thompson's not what he was, but Klay Thompson is a very serviceable player who
I
serves a
love
role
that you
shooter.
brought that up.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but you're so right. That's kind of a realistic outcome. But I mean, how old is Klay? He's 34.
Okay.
But actually, here's the thing. Klay at 31 came off a torn Achilles and started on a championship team. It's hard to judge how much it's going to hurt Dame physically, and it's hard to judge how reliant he will have to be at that age no matter what with his athleticism and how much will be gone. It's impossible to judge, and it's stupid to judge right now.
Yeah, but you know what I think will stick with him the most, because again, like you said, the explosivity and his drives to the rim, that's a big part of why he's such a good scorer and underrated part of his game. The shooting, I think, is what will stick. Catch and shoot, run around the three, right? And what have we been saying we needed all along? Everyone agreed? A shooter. If Dame can just at least come back and be a shooter, which I think we're all pretty confident he can be, Damian Lillard at 36 off an Achilles tear can still be a plus shooter in the NBA. We just got one for the mid-level exception.
Exactly.
Right?
And you can now pair. And now we have a team because, on most teams, a Damian who can only shoot is not going to get that many minutes just because of the defensive issues that would come with that. But even if Dame can only be a spot-up shooter, you can play him next to Drew, Denny, Chumani, and Klingon. Yeah. It would just be he's a incredible shooter who could probably pop off every now and then for big games. Or maybe will come back and look awesome. And he can play 30 minutes a game, and we can have the best guard tandem in the NBA. Or maybe Scoot sucks, and he's just back to being a really great point guard on a team that has.
There's so many
possibilities. They're all great.
Yeah,
they're all awesome. They're either great emotionally or they're great basketball wise. It is the biggest win-win I've ever seen as a Blazer fan.
And again,
as someone who's not the biggest Dame diehard, I love him, but I'm not I don't go loopy for Dame.
Yeah, but and I think. Here's what I'll say for kind of looking ahead in this season is that this kind of comes down to how incredibly great this can be to me, different than the outcomes of how Dane looks and everything. It's how bought in can Scoot and Shaden be with this whole thing. Because I think Dame and Drew don't really have a choice but to be bought in. Drew can just kind of whimper, but and be this is lame, I'm not the guy, I'm older than all these people, but I don't think he's gonna do that. I think Drew's a more stand-up guy than that. He's gonna maybe not try as hard as he was when he was on the Bucks with Giannis, but he's gonna give it a great 90-95% effort to try
I
and
don't.
go hard.
I think you will too. I mean, I feel like Drew might love it here.
I mean, I think adding Dame is, at least there's another guy in the locker room who's his age, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Truly.
so
I mean, that's got to be big.
Yeah.
That was my thought process too. Was like, this is probably gonna rejuvenate Drew. But Drew's such like a.
He's a
He's like a
stand-up. He's one of the most
five-time-
stand-up guys in the entire league.
He's like constantly winning like greatest guy in the world awards.
So I think him and Dame, they don't really have much of a choice at their stage in their career, but to like be like, let's do it. I'm in. Give me like whatever that looks like, whether how many minutes they want or whatever, that's a different story, but they're in. With Scoot and Shaden, if they want to commit to playing with those two and blending in, even if it means not necessarily being their team for right now, because look, Scoot and Shaden are 21 and 22 years old. They could be on this team and come off the bench for the next 3 years, playing behind two generational players who are still have it, right? Be an incredible 1-2 punch off the bench, and then get their time to take this team starting in 2028. You know what I mean? It's if Chauncey and everyone else, or if they have it in themselves to have the patience to work with this and let this be a first stage of their career, and realize that, even if they kind of both pop off next year, that they don't need to go be the guy right now, because there's a whole long runway of their career that they still have to left to go. That to me is the most ideal outcome, where if Dame and Drew come back playing really well still and playing really well together, that's an awesome backcourt of Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard. If that can happen, playing with Tumani, Denny, Klingon, and then you have, approaching their primes, Scoot and Shaden off the bench, like playing hard, bought into everything, that team can win an NBA championship for sure.
100%.
For sure. I think that has a better shot than maybe the like Scoot and Shaden starting and the Drew and Dame kind of weaker off the bench, right? Like,
yeah, it's so weird.
Because
at
the end of the day, you're just getting the most out of everyone, right? If you're getting the best of Dame and Drew with
true.
a good part of Scoot and Shaden, that version of the team is what can win a title. So if those two are bought into it and use this year to develop and are okay, and again, there's totally a world where Dame and Drew just fall off, in 2027, and then they're right back in the mix. If they're bought in, if Scoot and Shaden are bought into this thing, I feel very, very good about this situation. I feel very good about the situation, period, but very, very good. Because, if they're not, then we probably just have to trade them if they look good, because we don't really have a choice but to run with Drew and Dame, right? So, again, there's so many outcomes, but to me, that's the best case scenario for me, is if it's Scoot and Shaden off the bench for the time being, and then when they're 25, there are starters for the next kind of generation.
And then Dame and Drew retire?
And then Dame and Drew are, and then they're done. Then they're 38 and their contracts are up, and we pay that money to, because it's just 3 years. It's just 3 years of their hopeful 15-year career, right? If they can have it within themselves to realize that, I think this is going to be a really amazing outcome.
Like you said, there's a million different outcomes. There really is. There's endless. It's the most fun, I have no idea what's going to happen scenario I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
There's like 50 million different possible outcomes. I'm fine with all of them. Like you said, worst case scenario, everyone sucks and we have a bunch of awesome picks, exciting young talent still. It's a good time to be a Blazer fan right now. What do you think actually happens? Just really quickly. Like, if you had to make a bet on what's actually going to happen with Dame and the Blazers, what do you think is going to happen?
I think he will come back and be about what KD came back and was, minus the deep. Like, KD has been an okay defender, but he was a great defender before. I think I worry that Dame's going to be a bad defender when he was a not good defender before, or a really bad defender when he was a bad defender before, whatever way you want to take it. But I think the offensive production can be just about there. I think, and this, what I fear is that him coming back and being just about that, but him thinking he's still 100% him, might hold us back.
Do you think that's going to happen?
I kind of think it's going to happen,
where he's in that weird, like, kind of like, what's the word? That weird thing where he's not quite as he was before, but since he's sort of close to it, he thinks he should be. Like,
and we kind of.
I know
and
that's
because
kind of possible.
Yeah.
If he comes back and he's not great, but just really good, and Scoot also looks really good, and Shaden also, it could create some weird situations.
Yeah, that's that.
But even that would be awesome. I think we'd all be fine.
And it's not a bad problem to have. And in a weird, cynical way, I kind of do think that's what's going to happen. But maybe that's just
it'd still be great.
Protecting myself from, in case something like that does happen. But that's why I said I think what's going to happen is he is going to start game 1 of the 2026-2027 season. And then they're going to have to go from there. But that's where this team is going to be able to figure out what it is if Dame can have that opportunity and Scoot and Shaden can look at it and be like, okay, let's just see how he does and not freak out, right? Because everyone's been so torn up about Scoot needs to start getting in from the out. If Scoot's a good player, it's gonna work out. If Scoot's bought into the team, it's going to work out. And this is, I know, another kind of clog in the system, but if Scoot's really with it, if Scoot's really who we want him to be, this won't be too much for him to handle. What do you think is going to happen?
Do you remember Dwayne Wade's last season with the Heat?
Yeah, there was I remember some flashes. They were wearing the Miami Vice a lot. He hit that kind of bank-in 3 shot.
I think that Dame's next season with us is because, like I said, he's going to come back and realize he doesn't quite have it, and then I think retire. But I don't mean that in the way where he's going to come back and be a bum. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
I kind of mean it more in the sense of Dwayne Wade's last season with Miami. Dwayne Wade's, because I was a diehard Dwayne Wade fan. He's top 3 favorite non-Blazer ever. Wade looked like a shell of his former self. His second to last season was traded the trade deadline to Miami. And still with Miami looked bad for the last 20 games of the season. Then he had his last season in Miami, and it was awesome. He put up 15, actually I have it right here, 1 second. 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. He clearly wasn't what he used to be, but was still impactful, still had amazing, emotionally satisfying, beautiful moments, and was an incredible leader for that team. He wasn't close to the all-star Dwayne Wade, but he had as good of a last season as he could have while still it being obvious it should be his last season. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that's what Dame's going to have when he comes back. But it's going to be stretched over those last 2 years.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be it's going to be wonderful and him playing is going to be great. It's going to be clear he's not what he used to be, but it's going to be like that Dwayne Wade last season where we're all super happy it's happening. And he's still going to be a solid player on the court. It's just going to be clear that it's going to be that he only has those 2 years left in the tank.
Like we've been saying, it's only wins across the board, even if the worst case scenarios play out.
Or he looks awesome and he's 6th man of the year and plays serious minutes on a championship team led by Denny Avia, Tuani Kamara, Donovan Clingan, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp with Drew and Dame coming off the bench. And it's the most amazing, perfect ending ever.
The pure, not even how it's going to happen. Just imagine if this team with Dame on it wins a ring, because that's the ultimate ceiling, right?
It's the ultimate.
That's whether or not you think it's going to happen.
Play.
Yeah. Just
even Dame can get a ring with this team.
Just if this team wins a ring, period, which is it's every team's ceiling technically.
Yeah.
If that were to happen with Dame playing a part in it, I mean, could you think of a more romantic, awesome title for any team in the history of this league? I'm not even LeBron. I think it's probably LeBron going back to Cleveland, and I literally might even. I mean, we're super biased here, but LeBron
to this fan base, it means just as much.
Yeah,
100%
for sure. I don't think I've ever felt this much and maybe it's just because at this time in my life I'm doing a YouTube Blazers channel and I'm maybe more into the Blazers than I've really ever been. But even when Dame was at his peak in high school or the beginning of college for me, I never felt this optimistic for as long of a time. You know what I mean? It was kind of all just an in the moment, we're playing well, I hope we do good this year. It's no, this is Joe Cronin says it all the time. He wants to build a sustained winner. this feels like the start of building a sustained winner.
I agree.
It feels like we just started our runway, and for it to happen, like the Thunder are around, the Spurs are around, the Rockets are around. I get it, but it feels like we've given ourselves as good of a chance as anyone thought we would have to go in for these next 4 years, 5 years, whatever, and try to hang with these guys. Join us for the ride. Hit a like if you like Damian Lillard coming back. Hit a subscribe if you liked this episode of us rekindling our love for Damian Lillard.
Or if you just think the Blazers are cool.
Or if you just think the Blazers are cool, maybe
I
do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
We will talk about Summer League and Young Hansen next week. Our plan was to do it sooner, but, this happened.
The most beautiful thing to ever happen to this fan base happened.
Yeah, but maybe a new most beautiful thing ever will happen in the form of Young Hansen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so many good things going on right now.
Awesome.
So many. All of this is happening. We haven't even talked about Young.
I know.
So we appreciate you guys. We love the Blazers as much as you do. Blazers are cool. Go Blazers. Later.